Welcome to GamesBeat Rewind. This week we'll be going over the best games of the year through a variety of categories. Today, it's the non-awards. This is GamesBeat's chance to talk about the games and the things that happened that don't necessarily fit into other categories. Joining us today is myself, Jeffrey Grubb, GamesBeat Managing Editor, Jason Wilson, GamesBeat's Reviews Editor, Mike Minotti, GamesBeat Writer and Reporter, Stephanie Chan, and GamesBeat's PC Gaming Guest Post Editor, Rowan Kaiser. We're going to be with you all week, so be sure to check in every day for a new podcast and check GamesBeat.com for write-ups and more looking back at 2017. Hey you, yeah, you, the one trying to make a video game. I've got someone here that can help you, and that someone is Intel, which is not a someone, it's a company. But this company, they are going to help you as if they were a somebody and a someone and also a something. Check out software.intel.com/gamedev to find out how Intel is making sure all the innovation in gaming continues to happen on the PC as part of the Intel Game Dev program. Again, that URL is software.intel.com/gamedev. Sign up and start something new. The how did you screw that up award going to Electronic Arts for Star Wars Battlefront 2. I don't know like how this happens. I guess I do at this point kind of get it, but you have this huge franchise that everyone says can't lose. You've already released the first game as sort of the foundation to kind of get the developers working on these games revved up and used to the idea, now they have more runway to work with those same skill set that had already built up. So usually what we see happen is these sequels come out and they do so much better, Assassin's Creed 2 or, something along those lines. And I guess one of the ways you could screw it up is to make everyone on Earth mad at you for the way that you built your game. I still kind of feel like, how did they not see this coming? Even if I'm starting to understand how this happened, how do you not avert away from the oncoming disaster? And I guess the answer there is you don't expect it to be as big as it was. We already touched on a little bit. Reddit turned it into a huge thing. It attracted the attention. I guess I'm skipping ahead, but for people that aren't aware, Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out amid a torrent of outrage from fans who were very mad at its progression and its business model that enabled people to spend money on random boxes that could contain advantages for online competitive multiplayer. That got the attraction, or that attracted attention from the lawmakers in Europe, some state lawmakers in Hawaii. People are starting to say, hey, this is gambling. We need to do something to regulate this. And it feels like at a point where it's like, okay, yeah, they've definitely soured people on Star Wars Battlefront 2. It probably won't have a too large of an effect on Star Wars as a whole, even if Disney was getting very upset with EA for doing whatever it was doing to cause this outrage. But it might be like at a point where it actually is ruining, quote unquote, this business model for other developers. It feels like this might go away.
Yeah, it definitely seems like everybody was watching, right? I mean, you already are seeing people like, we had the Game Awards, Bethesda kind of just like making videos straight up being like, no, single player games are good. See, guys, haha, we're the good guys here. Like a lot of people are now going to tout the fact like our game doesn't have loot boxes because that's what you guys like, right? We're good guys.
Pointing out for Bethesda though, you gotta remember that Pete Hines and his crew are very savvy communicators. Have been doing this for a very long time. They know how to message.
That's like EA. Maybe they're not savvy communicators, but they've been in this game. This whole, publishing AAA games thing and having to deal with online communities long enough that they should know a little bit better to at least be able to launch their biggest game of the year and not have it be an absolute shit show.
Well, remember that their big moneymaker is FIFA Ultimate Team, which is basically give us your money to gamble, like, over and over. And that just prints money. It's nothing but, like, $1 billion in straight-up profit.
I guess the naivety comes from expecting people, like, who are just kind of like Star Wars fans to just be able to accept that model.
Yeah. Especially when they don't even expect all FIFA fans to accept that model, because it's a specific mode inside FIFA. And it's not...
Yeah, I think people were complaining about like what the next was there an MMA game coming out from EA
UFC.
that's doing something like and like that, people were complaining, but it didn't get as much traction because it is the same thing where that stuff does have its own mode. If there was 2 Battlefront modes and one of them was this is where your pay to win stuff actually matters, it would be one thing, but it was all just in the same thing.
Yeah, I think there's ways for them to pull this off, maybe. To have pay to win microtransactions, I'm never going to engage with that. That's not for me. I've been surprised as I've looked into this to see that there are people who fully understand what they're doing in FIFA and like it because of that. I just assume people are like, I can't help myself with this mode. It's like addictive, and my friends are playing, so I want to keep playing. Or at least people that realize how they are approaching this sort of thing where they're spending money for a chance to win. But no, there's people that are totally into that model. It does something for them. I get it to a certain point. It happened to me a little bit with PUBG, so I get it. But
PUBG was all cosmetic, correct?
Yeah, but I mean, I get the idea of chasing something down, and I mean, the thing there is that like you can actually then take those items and then sell them on the Steam store, so they almost have actual monetary value, even though you can't, extract that cash and use it on other stuff. It just works on the Steam store. So that makes it almost even more like gambling. It feels almost exactly like that. But at the same time, I was earning stuff while I was playing, so it kind of felt like, that kind of gives more meaning to what I'm playing. The point is, go ahead.
The gambling thing and the cosmetic things are somewhat different. A lot of the big gamer outrage is about whether something is cosmetic or whether it actually helps you. And I can understand getting mad at that, but I still feel like you can get that gambling urge even in something like Overwatch, where everything is valueless and has no...
Well, that's what I was... I was absolutely getting that urge in cosmetics only PUBG. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a real thing.
Right.
I play card games, so that's a loot box. In fact, it's a very different. It's very different. And some would say probably even more tempting and dangerous than a loot box from a shooter like Call of Duty or Battlefront 2. But I've never felt like gambling. I usually buy them with in-game gold because you either do one or two things with them. But I'm buying them. It's like, okay, if I get the card I want, that's fine. If not, then I'll craft the card I want. But I don't sit there and I don't feel compelled to be buying them. I understand that, some people are, and
I think the thing is,
and these things do kind of get to them. But my bigger thing with Star Wars is, God damn it, why can't I just be playing against people in my own goddamn rank? I'm tired of being a guy at like level 3 or level 5 and facing people who are level 20.
I'm starting to wonder if that's going to be a thing that people start to notice, because this game really accentuates that. I think like in Call of Duty, they do the same thing. Everyone sees each other's character rank, which is different than your matchmaking rank, which is the thing that actually matters, because it's saying like how skillful you are and how much items you have to help you or whatever. They take all that into consideration when they're matchmaking you, but you don't get to see that number. So you do see like, I only have these few things, and this other person is level 20, and when they kill you, they show you exactly what their loadout is with all their special cards. So it's built to make you feel like, I want those things, I should go spend money. So with that frustration that you're expressing there, Jason, I think that is kind of the fundamental thing in terms of the pay to win element here.
It could be part of that element. I'm not sure. All I know is, I look at games like Hearthstone or MOBAs where they have ranked play, and you're playing against people of your rank. Now, your MMR within that rank might be different, but you're still playing people of that rank.
Okay, yeah, I think in like MOBAs they just show you your MMR rank, I think. But the point is here is that there's a way to do pay to win and to do microtransactions, or at least there was a way to do all these things, cosmetic or actual, affecting the gameplay. There's a way to do it. People were doing it. EA was doing it just fine. I think it was always clear to everyone that there was going to be a way that you could push this too far and cause a serious reaction. How EA didn't realize it was diving headfirst into that, that's the thing I don't get. And I think when I say, how do you mess that up? I think more than anything, I think that's what I mean. Okay, let's move along. Who else has one? Someone will jump in.
Well, the other thing I want to bring up too
go
is
ahead,
with
yeah.
the communication that you get from
from EA. On
from EA. I wonder if that comes from the fact that EA is publicly traded in such a big watch stock, and everything they say has to be filtered through the lens of what will the shareholders react to it.
I think that's a good point. But they're not the only publicly traded company making games, so we could compare them to some others. And
yeah,
I think that you see like Activision, Blizzard is publicly traded, and they do a very good job of talking about their games. They go out there and they answer questions, or they say, but we can't answer that. And I think EA's problem was
some of their games.
Yes, some of their games they're not as great with. Overwatch is an example of where they are great. So EA's problem was that I think it got into a mode over the last 10 years where they're like, every time we say something about a game, we end up paying for it in some other way with our fans, with players. They'll use it against us when they're mad about something. They'll say, hey, you said this game was going to have this and it didn't, or you phrased it in this way and it's actually slightly different. So we should only ever talk about our games in a very high-level way, and the only reason we should ever talk about our games is if it can get us more sales. I think they did that. I think they made that decision a long time ago, and I think you could see that pretty clearly in most of their communication about all of their products. The problem with that, and I wrote about this, but the problem with that is once you go into a situation where you are making people angry and it's a crisis, and you're still trying to sell them, you're going to find out that people don't want you to be calling, if you're flinging crap at them, don't call it chocolate cake. And if you do that, people are going to be very angry. And the Reddit post the Reddit comment that EA made that got most of the attention, that was the most downvoted comment in Reddit history, was an example of them surrounded by people who are angry at them and them saying, here's how what we did that you're angry about was actually good for you. And I don't know why you say that unless you're like, okay, we'll always be closing, always be making that sale. We have to be getting more pre-orders. Here's a chance. This is not a crisis. It's an opportunity to make a sale. And it's like, no, EA, it really isn't. It really isn't. You have to handle this in a more deft way. And they don't have that skill set right now. I keep using that phrase, but yeah, that's just something they don't have at this moment.